On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the primary national founder of the State of Israel, stood in front of a crowded assembly at the Tel Aviv Museum and made an announcement that would reverberate across the globe. That day, he declared the establishment of the State of Israel. It was a defining moment, not only in the history of the Jewish people, but also in world history. It marked the culmination of centuries of persecution, longing, and a dream that had been kept alive by many generations of Jews. In this emotional and historic speech, Ben-Gurion didn't just proclaim the creation of a new state. He gave voice to the hopes of a people who had been denied their homeland for over 2,000 years. The dream of a Jewish state was far from a new idea. The concept of Zionism, which sought to create a Jewish homeland in the land of Israel, had been gaining traction since the late 19th century. But the real turning point came in the aftermath of World War II, when the horrors of the Holocaust, which saw the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, shook the conscience of the world. The atrocities of the Holocaust had left a profound mark on the Jewish people, and the international community could no longer ignore the need for a safe haven for the Jewish survivors of the war. Ben-Gurion, born in 1886 in what was then the Russian Empire, had been a leader of the Zionist movement for decades. His early life was steeped in the ideals of Jewish nationalism, and he had worked tirelessly to build a Jewish homeland in Palestine. In the years leading up to 1948, he had navigated complex political landscapes, both within the Jewish community and with the British authorities who held control over Palestine. He believed that the establishment of a Jewish state was not just a political necessity, but a moral imperative. He had witnessed firsthand the effects of anti-Semitism and the failure of the world to protect Jews during the Holocaust, and he was determined that the Jewish people would have their own homeland where they could govern themselves and defend their rights. The situation in Palestine during the late 1940s was tense. The British, who had controlled the region since the end of World War I, had announced their intention to withdraw, leaving the future of the land uncertain. The United Nations had proposed a plan to partition Palestine into 2 states, one for Jews and one for Arabs. The Jewish leadership, including Ben-Gurion, accepted the plan, though the Arab leadership vehemently opposed it. The plan was a compromise, but it gave the Jewish people a foothold in their ancestral homeland. However, the Arabs rejected the proposal and tensions escalated. The political climate in Palestine was further complicated by the ongoing violence between Jewish and Arab communities. Both sides had been engaged in clashes for years, with each side accusing the other of provocations and violence. By 1947, the situation had reached a breaking point. The British were exhausted by the conflict and decided to pull out of the region, leaving the fate of Palestine in the hands of the United Nations. When the British announced that they would leave, the world was plunged into uncertainty. Would the Jewish people finally have a state of their own? Or would they be forced to face yet another chapter of persecution and statelessness? Ben-Gurion's leadership was crucial during this time. He managed to rally both the Jewish community and the international community around the idea of a Jewish state. Despite the odds, despite the opposition from Arab nations, and despite the uncertainty of the future, Ben-Gurion remained steadfast in his belief that the Jewish people had a right to self-determination in their ancestral land. On May 14, 1948, Ben-Gurion stood before a group of Jewish leaders and declared the establishment of the State of Israel. The room erupted in applause, and the declaration was immediately broadcast to the rest of the world. But while the celebration in Tel Aviv was palpable, the road ahead was far from easy. Just hours after the declaration, neighboring Arab states launched a military attack against the fledgling Jewish state, leading to the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The war would last for nearly a year, and Israel's survival was by no means guaranteed. The Jewish people, though vastly outnumbered and under-equipped, fought fiercely to defend their homeland. Against all odds, Israel emerged victorious, solidifying its place in the world as a sovereign state. The emotional impact of the declaration cannot be overstated. For Jews around the world, It was the culmination of a dream that had been passed down from generation to generation. After centuries of exile, persecution, and suffering, the Jewish people had finally returned to their homeland. The declaration was not just about political sovereignty, it was a victory of the human spirit. It was the triumph of a people who had endured unimaginable horrors and had refused to give up on their dream of a homeland. But the challenges facing the new state of Israel were immense. The immediate military conflict was only the beginning. In the years that followed, Israel would face waves of immigration, internal divisions, and external threats. The Jewish population in Israel had grown exponentially with the influx of Holocaust survivors, Jews from Arab countries, and Jews from other parts of the world. This created a demographic challenge as well as a cultural and social one. The newly formed government had to contend with integrating a diverse population while also establishing a stable economy and securing borders that were under constant threat. The region's political and military situation also remained precarious. The Arab-Israeli conflict would continue to simmer for decades, leading to multiple wars and conflicts between Israel and its neighbors. The declaration of the State of Israel, while a moment of joy and triumph, marked the beginning of a long and difficult journey for the young nation. Yet, despite these challenges, Israel's establishment was a beacon of hope for the Jewish people. It was a testament to their resilience, determination, and belief in their right to self-determination. The creation of the State of Israel proved that dreams, no matter how long deferred, could be realized. It proved that the Jewish people, after centuries of wandering, had finally come home. The emotional weight of that moment still resonates today, as Israel continues to navigate the complexities of its existence in a turbulent region of the world. Ben-Gurion's declaration wasn't just about the creation of a new nation. It was a statement of identity and survival. It was about the Jewish people reclaiming their rightful place in the world, a place where they could live freely, without fear, and where they could contribute to the world's cultural, intellectual, and moral growth. In many ways, the establishment of the State of Israel represented the culmination of the Jewish diaspora's long and painful journey toward restoration. The memory of that day, May 14, 1948, still holds great significance for the Jewish people and for anyone who believes in the right of all peoples to self-determination. It is a reminder of the power of hope and perseverance in the face of adversity. It is a story of resilience, of a people who, after centuries of being scattered across the globe, found a way to come together and create a future for themselves in the land of their ancestors. And while Israel's journey has not been without its struggles, its declaration remains a symbol of what can be accomplished when a people unite around a common dream, and when they refuse to let go of that dream, no matter how difficult the road ahead may seem. It's a story of survival, of overcoming the greatest odds, and of the triumph of the human spirit over oppression. If you are inspired by this powerful moment in history and want to dive deeper into the events that shaped our world, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking stories that explore history's most pivotal moments. The emotional weight of David Ben-Gurion's declaration of the State of Israel cannot be understated. This moment, though celebrated in Israel, was not just a political event. It was a symbol of survival, a beacon of hope for the Jewish people who had suffered through centuries of exile, discrimination, and persecution. When Ben-Gurion proclaimed the birth of Israel on May 14, 1948, it was a powerful declaration that the Jewish people, who had endured unspeakable horrors during the Holocaust, had returned to their ancestral homeland. This was a triumph of the human spirit, a defiance against the darkness of history. However, the establishment of Israel was far from a peaceful victory. The immediate aftermath of the declaration saw an outbreak of war. The very next day, neighboring Arab nations launched an attack on Israel, beginning the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which would go on for almost a year. The Arab states, including Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, believed that Israel's creation was an affront to the Arab world. To them, the establishment of a Jewish state in what they considered to be Arab lands was unacceptable, and they vowed to undo the formation of Israel. Israel, however, was determined to survive. With limited resources, a newly established army, and a population of refugees from the Holocaust and Arab lands, Israel stood its ground. The war was marked by fierce fighting, but against all odds, Israel not only repelled the invading forces, but also expanded its borders beyond the original UN partition plan. In the end, Israel's victory in the 1948 war solidified its existence as a sovereign state. Despite the victory, the emotional toll on the Israeli population was immense. The Holocaust survivors who arrived in Israel after the war were still haunted by their past. The tension between the Jewish and Arab populations in the region was palpable. The creation of Israel had displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, and the political situation in the Middle East became even more complicated. This legacy of conflict, which continues to this day, began with that first declaration of independence. Ben-Gurion, in his vision for the future of Israel, sought to build a society where Jews from all corners of the world could come together and rebuild their lives in a land of safety and freedom. The vision was not just political, it was cultural, social, and spiritual. He envisioned a country that would uphold the values of Jewish tradition, but also a modern state that could participate in the world on its own terms. However, the challenges of building such a society were daunting. The early years of the State of Israel were marked by a wave of immigration. Holocaust survivors, Jewish refugees from Arab countries, and Jews from all over the world flooded into Israel. The newly formed state had to quickly adapt to accommodate the influx of people. The cultural and linguistic diversity of the immigrants created both opportunities and challenges. While this wave of immigration helped shape Israel's identity, it also created divisions that took years to overcome. Ben-Gurion's leadership was pivotal in these early years. He worked tirelessly to unite the Jewish people, to establish Israel's infrastructure, and to defend its borders. He made bold decisions that laid the groundwork for Israel's future, including implementing military conscription, building an economy from the ground up, and establishing strong diplomatic relations with other nations, particularly the United States. In addition to the internal struggles, Israel's external challenges remained formidable. The country was surrounded by hostile Arab nations, and the specter of war was never far from the horizon. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Israel was engaged in a series of military confrontations with its Arab neighbors, including the Suez Crisis of 1956 and the Six-Day War of 1967. Each of these conflicts further solidified Israel's position in the Middle East, but they also brought tremendous costs in terms of lives lost and resources drained. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which had begun in the wake of Israel's declaration of independence, continued to evolve. Palestinians who had been displaced during the 1948 war became refugees in neighboring Arab countries. Over the years, tensions between Israel and the Arab world have continued to escalate, leading to a series of violent confrontations, peace talks, and attempts at reconciliation that have yet to resolve the conflict. One of the most profound aspects of the establishment of Israel was the symbolic significance it held for Jews around the world. For centuries, Jews had lived in exile, often persecuted and oppressed. The idea of returning to the land of their ancestors was a dream that had been passed down through generations. The creation of Israel fulfilled that dream and gave Jews a place to call home, a place where they could practice their religion freely and defend themselves against threats. It was a victory not only for Israel, but for the Jewish diaspora, which had long yearned for a homeland. The establishment of Israel was also a message to the world that the Jewish people would never again be powerless in the face of persecution. The Holocaust had exposed the dangers of being a stateless people, and the creation of Israel was an assertion of the right to self-defense and self-determination. It was a statement that Jews would no longer be passive victims, but active participants in shaping their future. In the years since its founding, Israel has become a dynamic, innovative, and powerful country. It has faced wars, internal conflicts, and external pressures, but it has continued to thrive. Israel has become a global leader in technology, agriculture, and military defense, and it plays a vital role in global geopolitics. However, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains one of the most intractable and emotional issues facing the region, and the dream of lasting peace in the Middle East remains elusive. Despite the challenges, the legacy of the Declaration of the State of Israel lives on. It continues to inspire Jews around the world and serves as a symbol of resilience, determination, and hope. Ben-Gurion's vision of a Jewish homeland, though imperfect, has become a reality. Israel stands as a testament to the strength of the Jewish people and their unbreakable bond to their ancestral homeland. As we reflect on the Declaration of the State of Israel, we are reminded of the power of dreams and the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. The creation of Israel was not just a political act. It was the fulfillment of a vision, the realization of a people's right to self-determination, and the triumph of the human spirit over oppression. If you found this story inspiring and want to learn more about the history that shaped our world, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more emotional, thought-provoking stories that will keep you engaged from start to finish.